Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee
Hello.
and Milly channel. Today we're almost nearing the end of Smash or Passes for this series, so we are now at the penultimate episode, The Ghost of the Bad Humour Man. Did I get that right?
Well, it's on the screen.
Oh,
so
I made
how
notes,
can you get
okay?
it wrong? Well, I don't think that's how we spell humour, is it? Do we spell humour with a U?
There's a U in that one.
Is there? No, as in H-U-M-O-U.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That's the ghost of the bad hummer man. But I don't know.
Isn't that a type of limo?
A type of what?
Limo. A hummer limo.
Oh, we said lima.
No.
Like lima bean. I don't know limos. Or limos... I'm convinced they're not real. I don't think I've ever been in one.
Yes,
I don't think I've ever seen
your
one.
your sister's birthday, you told me about it.
Oh. Yeah, but that...
Hummer limo. They're ghastly, they're not like proper.
Oh,
limos.
you know what? I had a boy in my year who used to get loads of like women by just saying his dad had one. So they must be good, right?
Presumably. It's the inside of one.
Yeah, I have been in one of them and I nearly got kicked out for spilling like Coca-Cola.
Okay, progressing on into the episode, JayBee, give us a plot summary.
So this is like pretty basic, bare bones plot summary. So Shaggy appears to be driving the mystery machine, but a landslide ensues of various types of ice creams, causing the mystery machine to skid off out of control and into an ice cream factory. The gang venture into the factory where 3 spooky ice cream flavoured spooks start to haunt them, and some interesting characters pop up along the way, and that's kind of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's just crash, ice cream, explore.
Yeah, the most bare bones way of saying it, but yeah, that's kind of it. So, okay, getting into it.
No, let's not get into it. So let's have a little tangent first, okay?
Oh, okay.
It's a question for you, Milly.
Oh, no.
And it's a question for the audience. On theme, what is your favourite ice cream flavour?
Okay. It would probably be Ben & Jerry's Peanut Butter Cup. Although, for a brief time, around 2017-18, Ben & Jerry's did this, like, it was called, like, Utter Peanut Butter Cookie Core. And literally, imagine a Ben & Jerry's tub. The centre of it was, like, a tube of frozen peanut butter.
Ooh.
It was incredible. That was my favourite ice cream, but they stopped making it.
See, I'm not that into peanut butter, but that sounds actually crazy.
Believe me, it was incredible. The first time I tried it, I hated it. Then second time, fell in love.
Does ice cream go out of date?
Yeah.
Because I'm so surprised that someone hasn't invented like a super duper freezer to like scalp limited flavours.
Lots of people do kind of claim that like when it's in the freezer, stuff doesn't go out of date, but like for ice cream, it gets kind of more icy and frosted, and kind of like you can see that kind of like water effect on the top, you know, where the water crystallizes and it literally looks like ice over it.
Ah, okay, so I like that. That's a good answer. And my question to the audience would be, comment down below your favourite ice cream flavour. I don't know if they have Ben & Jerry's. I think they've got...
Ben & Jerry's is American,
Is it?
no? Yes.
I thought their equivalent was... Is it Baskin and Robbins or Baskin Robbins?
That's an entirely different thing.
Is it Baskin and Robbins or Baskin Robbins? I don't know. Is Ben & Jerry's in America? I always associate Baskin Robbins or whatever you call it with being the American version of Ben & Jerry's.
It's an American company.
Really?
Yes. Did you not know that?
No, I'm so used to like things being so separated now. So yeah, favourite. You know what? Yeah, favourite Ben & Jerry's.
Ben & Jerry's is English. That's great.
Well, you know, Baskin Robbins. Favourite Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavour. Comment down below.
What's yours? Is it caramel chew?
Caramel chew, yeah. There was one that I used to love and I forgot what it was called. It was
like chocolate
literally
brownie.
Yeah, where the top was like pure chocolate. It was the one that I used to get, you know, when I limited myself to like a 20 quid a week. When we first moved out. Just a solid bit of chocolate on the top. You plough through the chocolate and it's just pure chocolate ice cream.
Before I discovered peanut butter, it was cookie dough.
Oh yeah, I like
cookie dough ice cream.
Oh.
It's amazing. Right.
Oh.
We will bring this back on off tangent, and get into the episode. So, what's your initial thoughts on an ice cream factory as a setting? Because I'll admit, my first things was like, okay, great, soon we're going to be doing what's new, and then it's a Scooby snack factory, like, food factory is the first thing I thought of.
So it was a bit odd, because if it's ice cream, it's all, like, cold. you'd expect it to be like a Yeti or an ice monster or something, like a floating, like a Pokemon vanilla cone or something. But it was cool that it was the Phantom Shadows again, and also it's like more context for the Funko chase, which I really liked.
I think for me it was kind of a couple of things with the villain. Like you say, it was cool to see it in retrospect because it's like, oh yeah, we've got the chase and it's that one. But if we were to say we'd watched this a year ago before we did the sodas, I'd probably say I'd find it a little bit lazy that they'd maybe just reskinned an existing villain.
Yeah, I mean, probably like because of the time, the schedule, the budget. With a lot of these things, it was maybe just, okay, we've got, a setting here, we've run out of time, let's maybe go into the storages of old like character models and just paint them different colours. But I almost think that they could have had a way out with one of them by not colouring it at all, because I always thought vanilla was white. But
yeah, and
it was
I
all
wouldn't
yellow.
say strawberry was fluorescent pink.
No.
It's kind of like a soft pink.
But I don't mind that as much
pink.
because strawberry is red-ish or red. It's thereabouts. Whereas I thought vanilla was just pure white.
And I'll admit, I get a second issue with this as we're kind of going into this from the offset, because
Banana.
I've said that I kind of feel there's a little bit of laziness with just reskinning the villains. At the same time as well, I know we're not there yet, but if you look at the next episode, it's kind of like they're just recycling stories as well. The first scene is you see the mystery machine in the rain. You get to a second location, and then there's 3 different villains. It's very like this is the formula. The villain was repeated. It's kind of like you can tell they're getting to the end of the series, perhaps reusing a couple of things. Maybe they hadn't planned for the series to last as long as it had. Do you know what I mean? There's kind of like it's not okay, this is the prime episode, this is one of the first concepts they pitched for the show. Do you know what I mean? You can tell we're getting to the tail end of things a little.
It's organisation more than anything. I don't understand why they would do 2 similar episodes back to back. Like, if you're running out of ideas, fair enough. It's like, say, if we ran out of ideas tomorrow of who to interview, let's say the last one we premiered was a Lost City of Gold one. We do another Lost City of Gold one, right? But then let's say like that's 2-3 more interviews like to go until that point. Like all they had to do was have it done, have the episode completed, copy the last episode, but then maybe think, well, maybe let's make this episode 2 or 4 or 5, and that way there's at least a good number of episodes in between them. So it was a bit bizarre. I'm almost wondering if it was like Wallace and Gromit struggling to put the train track down while the train's going at the time. If they have to literally like get an episode out, flung a new one out, get it out, fling it out. Like, I don't know how tight the schedule was, but I'm almost thinking it may have been like that.
Yeah, it certainly comes off that way. So they're in the ice cream factory, and instead of smelling ice cream, there's this thing that they can smell eggs and bacon. They're cooking food, and there is a scene here that I actually really enjoy, which is, you know, when the security guard walks in, the eggs go flying and it lands in his eyes and stuff like that, and they kind of think that it looks like one of the villains. I thought that was funny.
And he was like
I respected that.
Like a cranky old man, though.
Yeah, just a bit of a grumpy old... Well, no, he wasn't even grumpy. Wasn't he deaf, so he didn't understand what was going on?
Oh, yeah.
And was he the one that was also blind and kept calling Velma a boy and Scooby a girl?
Yeah, I think so. Which was quirky. I think that's a good thing, actually, because I think a lot of the times with the new Scooby Doo shows and stuff, like with all these ones that I get, like the new Scooby Doo show, the Scooby Doo show, it's often that they just fling people in there to be suspects, and it's either not them or them. And this guy isn't like a masterstroke of genius character telling, but he at least had enough quirk to it that it was a bit like, I kind of hope it's not you, but if it is you, you've actually bamboozled them and us pretty well. So there was at least something about that side character that I liked.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree. They were at least interesting. They seemed nice enough. So then, moving on, we start to get into the story a little bit. Shaggy and Scooby start a fire. Is it in the freezer? They're really cold and start a fire somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And set the sprinklers off. It starts snowing. Just kind of gimmicks really around kind of how cold it is. Shaggy is cold. He goes to put on this outfit, and it turns out to be one of the villain's costumes. And then you get another kind of gimmick of, everyone kind of thinks that he's the bad guy. You see him interact with the bad guy, and then you also get the pose I think you mentioned.
Oh yeah, the shush pose. Oh, I almost wish that we had that out as a little mascot. But yeah, the shush pose, which
You'll have to
is
input a
creepy.
visual of it over speaking about this now to make sure we got the pose right.
Maybe. See, why are you imposing more editing on me? That's mad. But I'll probably have to do that now. Let's see. I'm almost wondering, did you get the vibe? And this is again relating it more to modern day Funko, so maybe it's not relevant. But did you get the vibe that the red one was the leader?
Yeah, certainly. I think, you very much get that indication that they are. It's never explained why there's two costumes with a chocolate one, right? Because Shaggy's wearing one and then the original one walks in. Kind of why is there two?
I don't know. I'd assume maybe that there's a spare or there was something lying around so that they must have found their costumes somewhere.
Maybe. I just read into things a lot, I guess.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
Okay, and then at this point, they see the owner without his crutches and they start to get suspicious of him.
Yeah. You know what? That's kind of crazy, because I don't think they could do that today, especially where he's just hobbling in on his crutches and Shaggy thinks his reflection's like a spider. So that was kind of an interesting timepiece. But then he does actually end up being, what is it, some type of benefit fraud?
No, he was keeping his money in his boot.
But he didn't need his crutches.
No.
I just think that's a mad way to...
He was keeping the money in the boot because there was people, robbing the place and everything going on, so they decided that it was the best way to keep it safe. And then, didn't it turn out to be the night guard in the end? I've made a note that it did,
but this isn't the one where it's, two dirty guys. Was that the next one? This is,
Yeah, this is the one where it was the two night guards. There was a couple of night guards and it was them. But, and I am skipping ahead here, but I think a lot of this is very, and maybe this is something to cover more in the next one, but it is quite rinse and repeat because there again, it's the first person they meet, that kind of night guard capacity that's amassed. It's almost like two of the same episodes back to back, but with a different location.
Well, yeah, not this one, but it's alright. I think the more I'm watching these, the more I'm really seeing that it is rinse and repeat. All of it is rinse and repeat. There's just some ones that do it better, formatically. This episode is exactly the same as everyone we've watched. We're kind of crazy people. We're crazy people watching the same thing over and over again.
No, I would disagree to some extent. Both, the two we watched today are both about money, stuff like that, but quite often there's more plots about land, actual kind of more substance added to hauntings and stuff like that.
See, I enjoyed this more than a lot of the others in this series, just because it was so almost simple. It was just, I couldn't not switch my brain off all the time, but it was just looking at it. There were vibrant characters, there were decent side characters, and it was wrapped up in a relatively simple way.
So with that in mind, is it a smash for you?
I think this is a smash. It's a big smash, actually, because I think this is, I don't know if it's my favourite episode of this season, but it's up there, definitely.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I'd probably agree. It's a smash as well. It doesn't do anything inherently wrong. I quite enjoyed it. I'd watch it again. I think, as we've said in a couple of episodes, after we finish this series, we may need to tweak things a little bit, because I think everything at this point is just, yeah, it's a smash. It's a smash. I'd watch it again. Do you know what I mean? I think we've said we're going to start to have more conversations about the level of smashes and stuff, but ultimately, it's a smash.
It's almost too pure for us in a way. It's, or maybe, I don't know, I just feel with so many of the others, there's going to be opinions to be had, whereas this is just, I mean, it did what it did at the time. It was obviously, some episodes in hindsight aren't this way, but an average episode of old Scooby Doo is entertaining, inoffensive. It's there. It's there for you to enjoy. There's not really an angle that you can hate on it from. Whereas, say, if you picked up an episode of Guess Who, maybe you think the guest is annoying. If you picked up an episode of Be Cool, maybe you didn't like the setting. If you picked up an episode of Velma, I mean, there's so many things you can pick apart there. There's opinions to be had. But that's why I always give a lot of respect to some of the more modern Scooby-Doo creators as well for what I think opening themselves up to more criticism than the old series as well.
I mean, that's why something I'm looking forward to and we've discussed is perhaps switching up and going from the more modern stuff, coming back to the point that we've got to now, because I think, like you said, there's more conversation to be had about some of the newer episodes, because I think ultimately like with this, I think it's very kind of this series especially has been quite formulaic. More than ever, episodes aren't linked to one another. Like, in one of them in this series, they've been professional divers, and that's never been touched upon before. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like they're dealing with a completely new narrative every time, as opposed to you can see how they perhaps interlink, even though there isn't any comprehensive story. Which is why I'm really looking forward to the likes of Mystery Incorporated, even Velma, which I never thought I'd say I was looking forward to, just because you have that kind of tying link that means they have to further a plot each time, and it does make each episode more individual.
But it's crazy though, because I'd say I love Mystery Incorporated so much, but I think there's an episode or two that I can see myself passing. Like, so it's interesting. It's more interesting to me.
I think it's going to be fun. Like, I think we're going to have, like, some quite strong debates, especially about Velma. And I think as well, I, to this day, have not seen a single episode of Guess Who.
They did,
and it's time, I think.
The character designer for Guess Who needs an award.
Right, you simping for Daphne is tedious.
What do you know?
I wish our comment section annihilated you more for this. Like,
no,
you're
it's
a
been a while.
simp.
It's been a while. So, with that in mind, do you have any community news to share with the audience?
That's a really good question. Not too much I can think of. I don't know how much. When we went to Asda a couple of weeks ago, you got that new T-shirt that you posted.
Oh yeah.
The drum kit one.
That's on Instagram.
So Asda's always a good place to be looking out for.
At JayBee Milly Vids.
I think, is there any Lost City news?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. There is. Actually.
I didn't know if I could say that or not.
Well, obviously you can say it's out. It's just that when I announced the interview with Gabriella, Jaffe, and Mason, who was playing Scooby Doo, you know, in like the suit, it's all really cool. There's so many behind the scenes details about that. But the Scooby Doo official page for the Lost City of Gold kind of quote tweeted, or it was on Facebook, so they quote shared it and said, like, ruh-roh, like, break a leg, Gabriella, I can't wait to get back on the road soon. And we've been teased with new tour dates ever since the last performance, and so the fact that they shared that and said that, I think we can keep our eyes peeled on the website. That was crazy. That's like breaking news. So how cool is that? What about you, Milly?
No, I'm good. I can't think of anything.
I guess we've decided kind of behind the scenes that we can't do the Mario Smash or Pass.
I don't remember this conversation.
Whoa. Oh, you're just...
I don't think we discussed that. When did we discuss
thought we did.
this?
I thought we said just today that... Okay, well, we didn't discuss it.
Right, so JayBee... To be fair, JayBee was asleep till after dinner time. He had some quite...
Yeah.
Perhaps vivid dreams, but that isn't a conversation.
Well, I don't know. I have very, very, very vivid dreams. Very vivid dreams. That sometimes... You know what I mean? But I guess that's the episode, right? Mm-hmm. And it's our penultimate episode for this series. So how cool is that? Make sure to like the video and comment down below what your favourite episode of the Scooby Doo show is, or at least what your favourite one that we've done so far. Let's always make a top 3 tier list and see where we compare. I think the Ghost of the Bad Humour Man is either going on my 2nd or 3rd spot. I don't know though. So yeah.
I don't think it's going to be in my top 5.
Please like, comment, and subscribe.
JayBee and Milly.